Morning all. I'm Paul Gunter. I'm an account manager at ControlStore Australia. Thank you for joining us today as we take a deep dive into scalable building automation solutions with our latest supplier partnership in Nube.io. At ControlStore, we pride ourselves on offering a full range of products from industry-leading brands, backed by technical support, local stock availability, and expert guidance tailored to the needs of HVAC contractors like yourselves, systems integrators, and automation professionals. Today's session is all about scalable building management from single sites to entire portfolios, and how you can achieve smarter, more sustainable outcomes without the complexity or high cost often associated with traditional BMS systems. We're excited to be joined by Tom Fife and Simon Marnie from Nube.io this morning, who will walk you through their cutting-edge wireless solutions that are helping transform how small to medium buildings are monitored and managed. Thank you for joining us today. I'll hand over to Tom to get us underway.
Yeah, thanks very much, Paul. Just as ways of introduction, my name's Tom Fife. I'm the CEO of Nube.io, which is both Nube and Enviro Building Services. With us today, we have Simon Marnie, who's the Director of Sales for Distribution. Firstly, I'd like to thank Paul for giving us the opportunity to talk further about the product, and for ControlStore in supporting Australian manufacturing. It's great, as an Australian brand. It's been very encouraging to get into ControlStore, and we certainly look forward to the partnerships that we have with ControlStore and their clients. We'd like to talk about scalable building management. For us, we've spent the last 3 or 4 years working on refining both software and hardware for a solution to really manage that multiple portfolio building type. It's one that we've had quite a bit of success with already, with a few different portfolios across different industries. So what we'd like to do today is take you through a bit of an introduction, look at building management applications, see how Nube has been able to meet the building requirements, look at some of the multi-building portfolios that we've done, and then go through the software that we've got, which is applicable for the application. So Nube sort of was born out of Enviro Building Services, which we had as a company in 2009. Over the last sort of 20 years, we've refined the solution, really in the last 3 or 4 years, building both hardware and software out to meet the requirements of different gaps in the market. Really that small to medium business where applications potentially like Honeywell Jace or Johnson's are not cost effective. Nube's sort of been able to fill that with both building management and new IoT that's sort of coming out in the market to have a full integrated solution. What are really the key advantages for us? We say to people it's really a turnkey solution. So really all the way from hardware to software and through to an analytics platform. Certainly efficient installation. We have really worked hard on battery sensors, wireless application with both LoRa and LoRaWAN. Remote monitoring, so cloud solution. Lightweight, efficient BMS. So you can add data points very easily to existing BMS. We speak multiple languages of BACnet, Modbus, LoRaWAN, MQTT across the different platforms that we have. And being able to manage the full portfolio of sites on one platform is also a really key part of the solution we have to offer. So the solution in total from Nube is made up of really 3 tiers. The bottom tier there is gateway and sensors, looking at utility, energy, connection to HVAC, mechanical, full environmental sensing, through to the BMS programming tool and engineering, which is wire sheet programming, what we call RQL or alarming console, and potential workflow platform, all the way through to visualization. So data, analytics, reporting. Clients can choose one or three or a combination of all three, depending on what they really want. Some people have had their own analytics platform. We push to that as well. So it really depends on what the client needs, which makes the solution very scalable. Look, these are some of the customers that we've done work for over the past few years. We certainly have some really good relationships with some key members of this group, which has been a critical part of, I guess, the success with Nube. And it certainly speaks to the way that the technology has evolved over the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So Simon Marnie here. I'm director of the building development, business development. So what I'd like to do is talk to you about some of the applications or how we go about delivering solutions. Firstly, in the single building area, but what we've been very, very good at is scaling that up into the multi-building portfolio. And I think we'll see that we have a solution. We can go from the sensor all the way to the cloud, and it's really quite unique, and it solves a lot of problems for customers in various areas. So the question would be, where does Nube IO excel? What are the areas that we are really good at? So I've listed on the left here. I've listed certainly the areas we play in, the areas we work in. And I'm going to describe shortly how our products work and satisfy those particular areas. Now, some of these are not unique in the building automation arena. HVAC, plant control, lighting control, and other areas. It's what building automation systems do. But there's certain things that we do and ways that we do it that are different. I mean, if everyone does the Me Too thing, then there's no point in being here. So we do this in a certain way, and it certainly adds value. So HVAC, plant control, lighting control, and I'm going to relate this to how we do our products. So the Rubik's Compute, which is the device on the left, and I'm going to break this down and describe the products in more detail shortly. It's the fundamental, it's the processing engine. It's where we bring all the data in terms of inputs and outputs, and we process it. We do scheduling, we do trend logging, data history logging. We translate it into other protocols, and we push it to cloud, and we push it to backnet IP to the existing BMS. So that's the core area, and then you can see on the right we have I/O modules, and I'll describe those. So the Rubik's Compute is our multi-protocol edge gateway. So it's the guy that, as I said, does all the processing. It integrates into any BMS via backnet IP. So we bring all the signals, whether it be Modbus or LoRaWAN, whatever, and we'll describe how we bring those in shortly. We bring in the signals, we process it, we push it out again if we're doing control to control valves, actuators, whatever else. And we do all the trend logging, data history, and scheduling. So I move my mouse around here. There's 2 Ethernet ports down the bottom here. One we can set up as a WAN. We can have a LAN. We can have 2 LANs. We can configure this to suit the particular application. I'll come on to it again later on. There's 2 Modbus ports here. There's a couple of USB ports for connectivity, other connectivity. And we have some direct connect ports here of power and Modbus for communications. So this guy really is the core of what we do. And you can see down the bottom here, once we have the information in, we can then send it out as MQTT, we can send it out as via REST API, or we can send it out via backnet. So he's the core of what we do, and very, very flexible. To get the data into the system, we need I/O modules, and the IO16 is our device for doing this. It's a pure Modbus device, so you can actually use it with other systems if you wish, but it works very, very well and best with our system. 8 inputs, 8 outputs, 0 to 10 volt, 4 to 20 milliamp pulse thermistor on the inputs, 0 to 10 volt on the outputs, or 0 to 12 if we're looking at voltage-driven relays. So I will show you shortly how it connects to the Rubik's compute. But the other thing we can also do is we can bring Modbus in through this device as an alternative way of getting to the RTU. So very flexible. So how does the IO16 connect to the Rubik's compute? The first image I'm showing you here is the direct connect where the IO16 plugs into the side. DIN rail mounted, and we can put up to 4 expansion modules with direct connection integrated power. So this will give us up to 64 points directly connected to the Rubik's compute. Another way of doing it is using the Modbus RTU ports on the compute. Up to 32 devices on each port, total 64 expansion modules. You can do the numbers, you can get over 1,000 points on each port. Our recommendation is don't do that. There's obviously practicalities come into what we're doing here. A good number, depending on how intense the processing and how many outputs and things you're using, would probably be about 220, 250 points. And that depends how you spread them across the network, etc. But a very flexible way of doing that. And then the other way of doing it, of getting information in, is really quite neat. We can use the IO16 with the inputs and the outputs, and we can use it across LoRa. So we can do it using the LoRa radios. We can, via wireless technology, bring those inputs and use the outputs for areas that may be 250, 300 meters away from the Rubik's compute. Now, again, need to be a little cautious sometimes because whilst LoRa is probably the best wireless solution in a building, you still need to understand how you're using it. And we'll discuss LoRa a little while later. So there we are. There's 3 ways of bringing inputs and outputs into the system. And I think what you'll realize here is one of the key areas that we have, we can get a very high density of points, a lot of points onto each Rubik's compute. And I see that as being one of the unique selling points we have. Very, very high density points. Another area, occupant comfort and monitoring. So we have a range of sensors, and I'll again show you those in a minute. We're showing you here using LoRa. Now, I want to differentiate between LoRa that Nube has developed and LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN, it's a global standard used in most countries around the world. Very, very good at going very large distances externally, outside of the building. And what we've got and done is, I like to say, we've optimized it for buildings. So we've adapted it so that the update rate, we can get down to 30 seconds from each LoRa device to the controller, the Rubik's. The advantage you have there is you can actually use our version of LoRa for control. LoRaWAN makes it very difficult, because of its update times, it makes it very difficult to have a feedback for any control you're doing. We also optimize the battery. So we get, again, battery life will depend on the frequency of updates, but we can get somewhere around 8 years, 8+ years, again, depending on what we do with the actual updates. So when we have our sensors and other devices, especially with battery, we can do occupant comfort monitoring, and I'll show you the device we're using for that. And it comes in the format, we call it a droplet sensor, and it comes in the format of temperature and humidity, or temperature, humidity and light levels, lux, or temperature, humidity, lux and motion. So there's three options you can have there. And we can have multiple versions of these. They can all talk to a Rubik's compute, probably 50, 60, somewhere around there. I mean, if you're looking at the extremes, please talk to us. We can advise on the applications. But these will give us the ability, we can look at the sensors, we can get the data back in, we can bring it in, we can monitor it, we can data log it, we can trend it, we can send it to the cloud, we can send it to a BMS system. Continuing the theme of LoRa, utility measuring and monitoring. So again, you'll see from the diagram here, we're still using LoRa, and exactly the same ideas apply about optimized for buildings. But the device we're using is slightly different. So it's what we call the micro edge. Now the micro edge is, again, it's still battery powered, so you don't need to get power to this device for it to work. This is the device that we use for monitoring gas and water. So typically this will be on the boundary. We do a lot of work with customers in Australia, whether it's industrial sites, and the actual meter is a long way from anywhere that's got power or any connectivity at all. So this guy, pulse input, we monitor the pulses, we bring them back to the Rubik's compute, we process it, we turn it into consumption data, and then we can analyze it in terms of historical comparisons. But this guy also has 3 other inputs, and they can be dry contacts or it can be thermistor. So we're actually seeing markets opening up for us where we can use this for buildings where they want to measure temperatures, maybe fridges or temperatures in I don't know, other food storage elements or anything else that needs remote monitoring, but it's difficult to get power to, and maybe a distance away from where you have the central gateway. And again, 200, 250 meters, maybe even more, and that's in a building. We've tested it within buildings, so we can go vertically through concrete floors, we can go horizontally. We've done that. Again, we're probably looking at 60, 70 devices per Rubik's compute, depending on the application. But this is a very, very flexible device for utility measuring. I'm going to mention it a little later as well. If you have electricity meters where it's Modbus and not pulse counting, we also have a remote solution for that as well. Integration with third-party equipment. So I'm back to the Rubik's compute, but if you look at the bottom here again, those Modbus ports, whilst we use them for the IO16s, they are compatible with any other Modbus device. We can use them, we can set separate parameters for parity, protocol, baud rate, etc. On those. So that allows us to bring Modbus from lots of different devices into the system. Something else we haven't got here, shown here, is we actually have a module that has 4 Modbus ports on it, and that plugs in the side of the Rubik's compute. So that gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to Modbus. And this is the device I was talking about. So the IO16, if you remember correctly, he can go over LoRa back to Rubik's compute, but he also has the ability of doing Modbus through connecting here. He can do Modbus into this device, and then it goes back to the Rubik's compute. So that's how we would do electricity, remote electricity monitoring. Sorry, there's the Modbus pass-through. I'm going to hand back over to Tom now. Tom's going to talk about interfacing with miscellaneous equipment.
Yeah, so as part of the, I guess, hardware program that we've done over the last few years, we've developed different devices to be able to connect through to HVAC and other assets. We did some work with Dormer Doors to connect their electronic doors to a gateway. We've worked extensively with both Daikin and Fujitsu on a connector for their split systems, ducted systems, and others. So there's no need for an expensive HLI card. So, you know, part of our hardware solution in OEM includes a lot of different applications in different asset types as well. So this is the small device that we're talking about. It's input-output, you know, RS485 that Simon was talking about. It can be 5-volt DC or battery with 2 relay outputs. It's, you know, at the moment we have connectivity through to HVAC and other assets, which is working really well. As I said, it sort of takes away the need for any HLI card, which, yeah, traditionally have been very expensive. And then we get asked all the time, yeah, how do we connect through to LoRaWAN, or can I use someone else's LoRaWAN sensors? And the answer is yes, we can use pretty much any LoRaWAN sensor that's on the market. What we do like to do is some range testing, as well as some reliability testing. We currently have a range that we use from a couple of different manufacturers for things like reed switches, full occupancy cameras, you know, leak detection, soil moisture, etc., where we've tested those quite extensively on both range and reliability and found that they are definitely, you know, good for the solution we're talking about. As part of connecting to LoRaWAN, As you can see on the right-hand side, there is a LoRaWAN gateway module that we have that plugs directly into the side connectors of the gateway. So it's a full range of sensors that can be added to really complement or complete the solution if it's a sensor that we don't currently offer.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So when we have all this data coming in, whether it be wireless or hardwired or direct connect, that's coming into an individual single Rubik's computer. So we then have the option of integrating with existing BMS, and it really is a case of just connecting the Rubik's compute to the Ethernet backbone, and then within the Rubik's compute, we are turning this into BACnet IP, and then we can bring that straight out, and we can bring that into, I've shown a Tritium Jace here. It can be pretty much every system nowadays talks BACnet IP. So it could be AOC, it can be Distech, Honeywell, Johnson, we really don't care. The information's available. And so what we've effectively done, we've given you a either high density IO or very cost effective means of measuring utilities, comfort, and other information data, and allowing you to bring that into the existing system. If it's on premise, we also have the ability, our engineering programming tool will connect directly over the network, directly to all the Rubik's computes. We can have the alarming console there, we have a ticketing portal, so we can raise work orders if we need to. But this whole thing will sit and it will be on premise. Oops, sorry. Tom, where are we going?
Yeah, so in terms of what Nube's plan is, we have, like a very good range of hardware, a very good range of software at the moment. We want to expand that over the next 18 months to 2 years to include our Generation 2 software and Generation 2 hardware. So the solution we have today is a very good one. At the moment, we can incorporate, Simon sort of said the gateway is the heart of the solution. The next couple of months, we will release the IO16 as a full programmable device. So you'll be able to have logic sitting on the IO16 device, which really makes the device a real peer-to-peer solution. So all the sensors talking directly to the IO module, and then processing through the programming in the IO module, rather than having to go back to the Rubik's. Now that just speeds up communication and speeds up any control through a building. As part of the solution going forward, we have a range of other devices, which is called our AnyConnects range, which really relates to how do we connect other assets into the total solution. So further options for touchscreen with customizable interface, screens that pick up the same data that our sensors currently pick up. The gateway obviously will continue to be a very key piece of the total solution. Expanding our sensor range to include CO2, which has become a very prominent requirement in the last 12 to 18 months. The AnyConnects module that we have has been a big one for connectivity to other devices, from actuators right through to full HVAC units. That's been a key item for connection to those devices. We're currently, as I said, the only solution is a very expensive HLI card to bring a device into the BMS. And then obviously software. One of the key parts of our software is to make the software far easier to use. So, potentially, doing a large HVAC installation, there's not potentially the requirement to have a BMS technician attend, where we've got intuitive software that can be used through an app that the technician can have to easily bring, HVAC into the BMS or into the controller without the need of, like full BMS, programming and engineering. As part of the total solution, we're doing different products. This is one of the products that we're doing for both commercial and residential in a zone or dampener. application where we're using both wired and wireless solutions to control dampers. So, yeah, like in a light commercial and certainly a residential application, yeah, it's a product that we have coming to market between now and December in that final quarter of this year. Yep.
Okay, Tom, thanks. So what we've just described there is the solutions that we have in a single building. Where Nube has excelled in addition to that is working in the multi-building portfolio environment. So I want to discuss how we've gone about it and some of the solutions we've fixed. So what are some of the unique challenges that face facility managers or people or companies managing multi-building portfolios? Well, firstly, the people running it are actually physically disconnected. And I know it sounds obvious, but when there is a problem, you can't just run down and have a look at it. You've got to have a means of planning or working out how to deal with this. Rolled up portfolio reporting. So when you have so many buildings, again, disconnected from each other, how do you bring all that data together? Or how do you compare the various data? It could be utilities, or it could just be how is the comfort systems performing in each building, which will put out comparison metrics. A common alerting annunciation platform. You don't want to have multiple BMS systems or platforms all alerting or all bringing information back in separate formats. And one thing that I always think about this one is device fleet management. I did work on a project once where they had well over 4,000 devices, and you had to connect and disconnect individually to the devices. If you can manage that entire fleet in terms, especially in terms of firmware upgrades, in terms of global set point changes, just managing the whole portfolio without having to duck and dive and go between different systems, it's a major issue. And that also applies to parameter global changes, programming, and maybe set point change. One of the things that I always used to think about this is setting of public holidays in schedules. A major energy saver is if you can turn things off when they don't need to run. The number of building managers that do not turn off buildings when the public holiday comes along just because it's too hard. So if you can make it easy to do, people will do it. And remote access. How do you get into a building to have a look at, see what's happening when there is a problem? So Nube solved this. We run what we call the Nube IO cloud, and we also support other clouds as well. All the devices are connected to a single cloud database. On each site, you have a Rubik's compute will be designated as the master. It will talk through a 4G or it talk through a regular internet connection, and it will bring all the data into the system. Secure connectivity, we use OpenVPN, but we manage that OpenVPN in the servers. So we have the whole site to cloud secure. Write once global requests. How many times, say, would you want to know? I don't know. What is the battery status of all my devices across my entire portfolio? You don't have to go and request every single time. You can do a single request and the system will ask the whole portfolio what's going on. Separate instances for each client. So each customer has a separate instance in the cloud. So obviously we segregate them, we keep them separate, and then multiple login for customized access. So we run this and we have multiple customers, utilities, multiple corporates with multiple databases. We allow them all access and they cannot see each other. So it's segregated, but it's a very neat solution to the problems that facility managers have. And this is a diagrammatic of how this will go together. So there's the individual Rubik's compute, so either with an iOS 16 or the LoRa devices, coming through on a network through a 4G modem, MQTT or API. Typically we use an API to go into the Rubik's compute to the cloud. One site, 2 sites, 3 sites, 1,000 sites, we don't care. And we have installations like this as proof that this has been done. And in terms of cloud, it could be Nube cloud, it's our cloud. third-party cloud. It could be AWS, it could be Azure, it could even be client cloud. There are instances, sensitive government installations, universities, hospitals, they don't want to go to cloud. So we are happy to work with customers on this to secure this. And then we have the single point of connection, as we said earlier. So what I showed to you earlier on-premise, now we can go to the cloud. I can go from the engineering tool, I can go through the cloud, and I can go down to the individual controllers, program and make adjustments. Very, very, very powerful. As a benefit of us managing the OpenVPN, we can also allow inter-building site peer-to-peer communications. So I can exchange data, not just between buildings on a particular site, but I can exchange data between buildings on different sites. Now, this could be maximum demand control. It could be, I don't know, it could be anything you want to really. But where you need to exchange data between sites, we can do this. And here's a visual of how we're working with some other companies at the moment. So the data resides in our cloud, and here we've said Nube, third-party, client, etc. We have a two-way REST API, and some examples. These are not the only guys we've done it with. These are examples of companies that have integrated with us. Aviva, Envisi, Bitpool, Switch. They have proven and they've done it, and they've written the two-way elements backwards and forwards into our cloud. And if it's not third party you want, we also have the ability ourselves. We have the ability to do visualization. We can create custom, and Tom's going to talk about this shortly. We can do visualization, we can create custom dashboards, and not just dashboards, but we can do the analytics, and we can do comparisons of, say, utilities between this year, last year, this month, last year, whatever else. Very, very powerful. All from a single connection to the cloud. So I'm going to pass you back again to Tom, and we'll look at capability and application uses.
Thanks, Simon. So one of the areas that we've been quite successful in is what we call a corporate multi-site. So key sites where companies are looking for a reduction in maintenance cost, utility data, compliance across their entire portfolio. So those corporate multi-sites include fuel outlets, QSR, like quick service retail, like McDonald's, KFC, BP. We've done some work across different clients in the banking arena as well. Clients want that visualization of assets across the entire portfolio across Australia, which we can give them that. Remote access is really key at diagnosing problems with site assets, without the need for attending, scheduling, mass updating, being able to monitor other contracts through the attendance. So, using the occupancy within the sensor to look at, potentially how, maybe a cleaning contract is done to review some of that. And we can either push data to our cloud or to a client's cloud. So there's plenty of different ways of being able to do it. Some of the points that we've monitored in the different applications we've done across a couple of different industries, include that temperature, humidity, light, motion, all the utility data, looking at HVAC control and monitoring, things like fridge monitoring for food wastage has been a big one. Oven monitoring for food compliance, rather than having an attendant measure the temperature of an oven, 3 or 4 times a day. All that data is recorded for easy reporting. Obviously, things like dormer doors we've done, and Ziploc water integration for both maintenance and monitoring has been a good one. So in terms of a solution for that corporate multi-site, where you're looking at 200, 300, up to 1,000 sort of sites in different applications. Obviously, there's solutions out there, but potentially they're not a cost-effective way to manage a full 500 to 1,000 site portfolio. Certainly the Nube application, both hardware and software, gives you that ability to really have full monitoring and control of those sites across one platform. Warehouse monitoring, obviously, EMS has become quite a big requirement across different industries. In that warehouse space, we've been successful in, getting quite a few different portfolios. ESR, Logos, and Fraser's are one where, we're just measuring the electrical, water meter, and solar across a whole different range of their sites. So, in most cases, they have sites, of 100 to 150 locations. With those locations, they can see all of those sites on the one platform, both from an engineering and programming tool to updates within the Rubix, as well as being able to see every single site on the visualization platform. So it's one of the things that they're using for utility and data optimization, and to check some of the subtenancy billing that they're doing. Sorry, someone. Just go back.
Oh, sorry.
One more. HVAC monitoring is one that we've been working pretty closely on with both Fujitsu and Daikin. So, being able to control and monitor the air conditioning is certainly a big part of the solution that we have. And as Simon said, that wireless integration of Modbus to LoRa is certainly been one that, has been a very good retrofit for companies that have required that, where the addition of cabling is just way too expensive. And different applications with, the likes of shopping centres or, large sites like defence. Subtenancy metering is certainly a big one. We provide, a very cost-effective solution to be able to do subtenancy metering across a very large portfolio, like shopping centres. So, there's lots of different applications. As I said, we sort of term it that corporate multi-site, where lots of different sites, being able to manage those lots of different sites across the whole, platform, one platform, is certainly key to, the total solution. So in terms of the software that, Nube offers, so the software is all our in-house design and application. So the Rubix platform is made up of the operating system, which includes Rubix CE, which includes the programming, Rubix query language, which we call RQL, and then Rubix, what we call our Riot engine. DNA is our data and analytics platform, which is a visualization platform and reporting, which, if clients want it, is that end point of the data. So the Rubix BMS is really that end-to-end cloud or on-premise solution. The CE software stack, we've also licensed to other clients to be able to use as their own solution and OEM application. There's no licensing fee, so unlike, I guess, a Jace, there's no cost of software. So it allows for system integrators and distributors access to a very powerful software program with no cost to the business. Rubix query language gives you full control of all alerting and asset management across the entire portfolio in real time, and pushes those alerts to key people within their business to alert them of issues with assets or issues with the total system. Portfolio management is certainly one that we've been pushing hard. Through the Rubix CE platform, you can manage all of the sites on one platform to do updates, scheduling, additional functions, offering connectivity through and loading of additional apps remotely without the need to be on site like a traditional BMS. And obviously wireless connectivity integration is being key for us. to look at how we utilize LoRa through the sensors application to make it, far easier for installation. So CE is our program, which, as you can see there, provides full wire sheet programming. We have close to 300 pre-configured blocks. So the BMS engineer doesn't have to start from scratch. They can use the pre-configured blocks. It's a very fast, lightweight solution. They can configure and modify remotely without the need to be on site. RQL, or Rubik's Query language, is really there to write rules and then run those rules in real time. As I said, it's a key function of the alerting to be able to offer that through the whole program. So that's basically the alerting console that we use for the whole Rubik's programming. Through RQL, it also allows you to do trending across a whole portfolio. So basically being able to see the whole portfolio on the left, you can run that trending analysis internally in the engineering tool to allow you to see multiple different trends for different items within the site. And then key to it, I guess, is the portfolio management. Through the one platform, you can see every single device. You can delve down into those devices to see what software is loaded on that device, what version it is. You can update the device. If it doesn't have LoRa, you can load LoRa, BACnet, Modbus, etc. onto the device, directly through this portal and remotely. And as you can see there on the left-hand side, you can see multiple sites there that you can manage all through that one portal without having to be on site to make those changes. Dashboard analytics is really the, I guess, top layer of the solution. So it's very customizable. It's used by a lot of different clients in different applications, whether it's in utility monitoring or HVAC function. We have a lot of different types of dashboards that we have, which provides the clients with the ability to see the data real time. Obviously, as I said, EMS is certainly a big one. We can do comparisons across different data set points, across different dates, across utility, gas, and water. Customization, is easy. Depending on the client's requirements, we can look at how they want to set it up, what reporting they want to get for it, what they want to see live as their homepage, and really make it intuitive for what they want to see. I mean, there's a lot of different analytics platforms out there that give you a barrage of data. What we're trying to do is customize it so the customer only sees, or client only sees, what they need as a requirement day to day.
Okay, Tom, thanks. Look, so just to summarize what we've been talking about here, we have solutions for single buildings. We cover all the elements that control systems and monitoring systems need. I also think that we fill a lot of the gaps that the existing control systems don't, and we're completely compatible with all the mainstream systems. So we have a lot of options here. We can do the whole building, we can do part of the building, we can fill in areas that's not cost effective for existing customers. And then we can take that and we can turn it to manage multiple buildings. So that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for attending there. Paul, I don't know if you have any Q&A come through. If you have, Tom and I are very happy to answer any questions and go back through any slides where we can look at more detail.
Yeah, beautiful. We've got one question that's just come in. Are all those data of BMS program blocks running on a local JACE or somewhere else? And can it be accessed remotely?
So we're talking about the wire sheet programming, all those programming blocks. They all sit either in the on-premise or in the cloud. So yes, they can be accessed remotely.
And not in the JOS.
And no, it's not in the JOS.
Comes directly to the Nube.io platform.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If there's any other questions, guys, feel free to throw them in the chat. We have another one from Leo. Do these facilities have access for containers to install MQTT?
Look, through the program, as I said, you can load different apps through the portal. Simon's just sort of going back. It's that one, Simon, one back. So you can see what's loaded on that device and then load it through remotely.
Beautiful. Wait a second for any last minute questions that might come in. This one in the Q&A. We do have one question from one of our guys. What's the standard lead time on the majority of the product range? What are we looking at from a manufacturing point of view?
Look, that's a good question. We normally sort of keep 200 to 300 controllers in stock with, that sort of number of IO modules and sensors. If it's a big run job, like if someone's got 400 to 500 or something like that, normally the lead time would sort of be 7 to 8 weeks or something like that for large single runs. But normally, all the installation doesn't happen in one day, so we can sort of stagger that as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
Of course, Paul, the other side of it is our local distributor will also have stock as well.
Yep, that's correct. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Tom and Simon, for that insightful presentation, and thank you for all joining us today. As you've seen, Nube.io's scalable wireless solutions make it easier than ever to bring smart, sustainable building management to life, whether you are working on a single site project or you're managing a growing portfolio. If you'd like to learn more about any of the products or solutions that we've shown you today, or if you need support in choosing the right setup for your next project, the team at ControlStore Australia is here to help. We're supported extremely well by the team at Nube.io as well. You can visit us at controlstore.com.au. You can reach out to our technical sales team or speak with your account manager. Once again, we appreciate your time. We look forward to helping you deliver smarter buildings, all powered by Nube.io. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you at the next session.
Thanks very much, Paul.